IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I am streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope that everybody has had a great start to this week. We're kicking this week's IELTS live classes off with speaking part 1, practice, some examples, some strategies. Hi, viral video. Priya Patel, good to see you in class. Shang Hyun Tsai, nice to see one of our members in the class. Viewers, there are 4 levels of membership that you can join on our channel. Our materials come from our websites. aehelp.com is for academic IELTS. I'll put that up here so you can check it out at your leisure. And for the general version of the test, check out our website, gielt.com. We aid thousands of students every day to reach their needed band scores on the exam, both for the general and academic. We have our own practice exams, strategies, interactive course, video lessons, so check out those websites. Hi, Preeti. Good to see more members coming in. Sabine, Samir, Ahmed, Jairam. Good to see many students joining in. Download our app, Academic IELTS Help, from your app store in Android or iOS. Look for our shield that links to your website. The websites look like this. This is the academic at AE Help. Click that big red button to join, and for the general it looks like this, the green background. Click that red button to join. If you have questions about the exam, about questions, about marking schemes, about what you need to do, what you shouldn't do, if you have questions about our products, don't be shy, send us an email. You can send me an email, Adrian, ADRIAN, @aehelp.com. Okay? All right, students. So the schedule for this week, speaking part 1 today. Tomorrow for members, we have a task 2 class followed by a listening part 1 and 2. Then we'll finish the task 2 on Friday and the listening as well. There will be no classes on the 7th, and we will continue live streaming on the 13th. So take note of that. Tarun has a good question. Tarun says, how can I start thinking in English? Tarun, it comes with practice. That means active practice. So you want to concentrate on thinking in English. And you want to write a lot. Writing a lot in English helps to train the mind to think in English. All right, students. So in the IELTS speaking section, you have 3 parts, and it takes about 12 to 15 minutes. You have a face-to-face interview, most of the time with a native English speaker who's marking you real time. They're recording your speaking. And you have to prove your English level. That's your goal. When you walk into the speaking interview for the IELTS exam, and you look at the examiner, what should be your first thought? What should you be thinking about when you look at the examiner? So just before we get going, I want to share a couple of very useful tips for you to get some higher band scores. So what should be your first thought when you walk into the examination room? Okay, what should you be thinking about? All right. Satisfying Time says, I should be polite. That's part of it. Yeah, Preeti has the right answer. And Satisfying Times, when you think of what Preeti wrote, then I should be polite comes to mind anyway. So Preeti, very good. I'm very happy. Preeti Sina, one of our members, says, you should think you are about to have a discussion with your grandfather. Why? So why should you think this? Why should you think that you're going to have a discussion with your grandfather? And Satisfying Time says, well, it's probably because you're going to be polite. We're very polite with our grandparents. Shanghung Tsai, I'm not sure if you're relating that, but it makes sense because you're relaxed and confident with grandparents. When you're speaking to your grandparents, you usually relax and you're confident, okay? So relax and confident. Sure, so those are some good reasons. Yeah, Artie says because we can speak easily with our grandfather and grandmother. Yeah. Satisfying Time says, well, because we need to explain. When we're talking to grandfather and grandmother, we give detailed and clear explanations. My best friend in the whole wide world is visiting me these days, and he and I get into some interesting discussions. And we were talking about business a little bit, and he said to me he read some good advice, and it said that good business communication is the 5 and 80 rule. And the 5 and 80 rule is just a little side note for you. So the 5 and 8 rule, or 5 and 80 rule in business communication. And this is true for the IELTS as well. It's a good way to think about it. Means that both a 5-year-old and an 80-year-old should be able to understand what you are intending to say. Okay? So he said that to me and I kind of laughed. I said, yeah, it's interesting. I always tell my students to think about the examiner like their grandfather. It's kind of like the 80 rule, right? So when you give your answers, you need clear explanations. You need to not just say, I use Instagram, but explain what is Instagram. Instagram is a social media software whereby I can share pictures and information in very short snippets or very short messages with the world. Okay, so you need to explain that. Don't assume that the examiner knows what you mean by Instagram and has a clear idea and, oh yeah, of course, right? So it's very, very important. It's called the 5 and 80 rule in business communication, and it applies to the IELTS exam. All right, students, so keep that in mind. Keep in mind this grandfather rule when you go into your exam. Let's warm up with some questions. So when you go into your exam and you walk in confident, visualizing your grandfather or your grandmother, then you will be greeted. If they're smiley, that's fine. If they look grumpy, that's fine. Doesn't matter. You're there to do a job. Okay, keep that in mind. And always, their first question will be, may I see your identification, please? Okay, for most people, that's your passport. All right. What's a good answer to that question? So Kartik Joshi says, sure, here it is. Yeah, you can keep it simple, fluent, sure. Here it is. I'm a little bit longer spoken, so I usually say, sure, here it is. Please take a look. A bit redundant. They'll do it anyway, but it's nice and fluent, okay? Yeah, sure, here it is. Jairam is also good. All right, again, repeat after me. So typing and communicating in our comments, it's great in the chat, but do remember to repeat. Repeat what you hear me say. Repeat questions, repeat answers. Arrow says, yes, absolutely. That works as well. So yes, absolutely. Practice different ways so it's natural. Repeat after me. May I see your identification, please? Sure, here it is. Please, take a look. And then, of course, the next question right away is, what is your full name? They're matching your name with your passport. They're also matching your ID number with the number on their sheet if that's what you used to register for the test. Always have the same idea. So ID. So what is your full name? Okay. Give me a nice answer for that one. Dylan Patel says, Dylan Patel is my full name. We would never use Dylan Patel, an adjective marker with the name. So we would never say Dylan Patel, which is my full name. That's unnatural English. Please do not say that. You can say Dylan Patel is my full name. Okay? And then we would probably naturally, Dian Patel. Dihan Patel, we would naturally say, Dihan Patel is my full name. Please refer to me by my given name, Dihan. And then they know that Patel is your family name. Okay? You have to be clear, though. You definitely do not want to sound awkward when you're asked this question, because that shows a low level of English. Any person with an intermediate, upper intermediate English would not sound awkward to this question. Okay? Valiant Venture says, well, my last name is Nabiev. My first name is Fedavs, but please call me Fredavs. Okay, so that's what Valiant Venture says. All right. Let's see another one. I am Yun Wei says, Reslin Balin is my full name. Please call me Reslin. Okay, it's okay to keep your answers short, students, but they still have to be explanatory. So they still have to be clear. So even if you go like this, so if I say John Smith is my full name, it's too short. Okay, for a native speaker, that would be a little bit awkward. Okay, that's something we would do in an interrogation or customs or something. We would never do that with a person like an examiner or someone we're meeting for the first time. So we would say, John Smith is my full name. Please call me John. Okay, so at least 99.9% of native speakers would add this phrase in. Keeping it this short is kind of rude. It feels rude. So native speakers wouldn't just say that. They would say, John Smith is my full name. Please call me John. Okay? Keep that in mind. Tarun, I am called as Tarun is strange. That's not like something out of a fantasy movie. Again, in everyday English, we would never do that, Tarun. So we would say, my name is Tarun something, or just Tarun, as you will see in my passport, okay? I wouldn't say I am called as Tarun. That's kind of weird, okay? It's like old English, hundreds of years ago with kings and queens, okay? All right. Yes, Jotine, we will be soon 1 million, a family of 1 million on YouTube. It's exciting. All right, so what is your full name? Again, okay to answer short, just be polite. So John Smith is my full name. If you're talking to your grandfather or your grandmother, you would say, John Smith is my full name. Please call me John, Grandpa, or please call me John, Grandma, right? We wouldn't just say John Smith is my full name to my grandfather. All right? Okay. Let's go to the next question. Here we go. Where do you live? So the examiner will often say, now for part 1, I will ask you some questions to get to know you better and some questions on a general topic. Where do you live? Satish Poland says, I am living in beautiful Diamond City of Surat. So Satish, we wouldn't say called Surat, we would just probably say of Surat. I'm living in the beautiful Diamond City of Surat in central India or wherever it may be, okay? Lan Thieu says, currently I am living in a 2-bedroom apartment with my sister in downtown Hanoi, which is the beautiful capital situated in northern Vietnam. So Lan Thieu, just a couple of small corrections to make that good English. So currently I'm living in a 2-bedroom apartment with my sister in downtown Hanoi. You do not need of, okay? In downtown Hanoi, which is the beautiful, because it's the one capital, which is the beautiful capital situated in North Vietnam. You don't need the word city, you don't need the, you don't need of. Those are all unnecessary words, okay? When you say capital, we know it's the capital city. It's inferred, all right? Pay attention, students, pay attention. Gong Kai Ren says, I live in a dormitory with 2 of my friends. It's a spacious, bright room on Toronto University campus. So add the campus. Usually if you say the name of the university, it often includes the city. So you can say Toronto's University campus, okay? Or the University of Toronto campus. Preeti Sina, our member, says, I live in the beautiful lake city of Udaipur. It is located in the southern part of Rajasthan in India. Okay, in the southern part of Rajasthan in India, Preeti. Xing Hyung Sai says, I'm currently living in Taipei, which is the capital city of Taiwan. Sheng Hung, living, okay? I'm currently, because it's, you do it continuously. You're currently living in. So if you say currently Sheng Hung, use the progressive form ing. I'm currently living in Taipei, which is the capital city of Taiwan. Nice use of an adjective clause there, okay? So I'll use that in an example here. I'm currently living in Budapest, which is the capital of Hungary and situated on the 2 sides of the beautiful Danube River. Okay, so repeat after me, students. Where do you live? I'm currently living in Budapest, which is the capital of Hungary and situated on the 2 sides of the beautiful Danube River. All right, and then quite possibly the examiner will ask you another question to warm you up, make you feel comfortable, especially if you are nice and fluent and you're speaking clearly. They'll ask you about 2-3 of these warm-up questions. So what do you do for fun? Okay, what do you do for fun? All right. Dhyan Patel says, I do many activities for having fun, such as watching movies, playing games, reading comedy blogs. These activities give me lots of happiness and also relieve stress. Okay. Dion, good ideas. Just be really careful with your grammar. If you say many activity, then you lose marks for incorrect plural singular. So activities, right? You can count them. Okay. It's not for getting fun. It's for having fun. We don't say getting fun in English. We say having fun. Such as watching a movie, playing a game, or plurals, Gian, such as watching movies, playing games, reading comedy blogs. And then it's these activities, unless you're referring specifically to comedy blogs, but then you need to make that clear. Okay? All right. Satisfying Time says, whether I watch or play football, it is my favorite sport and the best way for me to enjoy my time and release stress. Okay, Satisfying Times. Notice the corrections. Again, students, when I'm reading the responses of your peers, I am correcting in real time. So you can repeat me, okay? If I make a mistake, I go back and I correct it anyway. So make sure to repeat, okay? So again, satisfying time says, whether I watch or play football, it is my favorite sport and the best way for me to enjoy my time, best way for me to enjoy my time and relieve stress, okay? Relief stress, satisfying time is wrong word form, all right? Maanko Mitra says, I usually watch live sports to entertain myself. Okay. That's good. I like it. I like the paraphrasing. And then something else is also your hobby. I couldn't see that. Juan Pablo Avila says, when it comes to my spare time, I like reading a good book or maybe watching an interesting TV show. Last night, I finished watching Chernobyl on HBO. Juan Pablo, I have heard that that is a fantastic show. In fact, my friend who I mentioned earlier has talked to me about it and said Chernobyl is a very good show, and my younger brother, who was with us, also said it's quite an incredible series. I think it's also available on Netflix. All right. Niyamatula Shanrani, it's good to see you in class, says, I usually watch movies after a tough day sitting in class, mostly comedies. Just yesterday, I saw a funny film called Poor in House, which was not only interesting but also relaxing. All right, that works. I love how many of you are adapting those correlative conjunctions to help you twist and turn those sentence elements together and emphasize them. So not only, but also, whether, or. Beautiful to see many of you using those combinations. And yes, your band scores are going up when you're doing that, all right? So concentrate on the word fun. Think about a paraphrase, enjoyment, okay? So whether I'm reading a good book or watching a funny movie, most of the time I like one of these two activities. I like to do one of these two activities to relax and unwind after a tough day. In fact, I just finished The Life of Pi yesterday after coming home from the office. Okay, so there's a nice answer. I saw that some of you also included an example, and that's great. Okay, so repeat after me. What do you do for fun? Whether I'm reading a good book or watching a funny movie, most of the time I like to do one of these two activities to relax and unwind and enjoy myself. After a tough day. In fact, I just finished The Life of Pi yesterday after coming home from the office. My grandpa might not know what Life of Pi is, so let's tell him it's a book. Okay? In fact, I just finished a book, The Life of Pi, yesterday after coming home from the office. All right, so that's the warm-up. Okay, one more time really quickly from the top. Just repeat after me, students. So this is pure repetition here, and this is very useful work. Okay, so let's do it together. Examiner questions. May I see your identification, please? Sure. Here it is. Please take a look. What is your full name? John Smith is my full name. Please call me John. Okay, John, for part one, I will ask you some questions to get to know you better and some questions on a general topic. Where do you live? I'm currently living in Budapest, which is the capital of Hungary, and it's situated on the two sides of the beautiful Danube River. What do you do for fun? Whether I'm reading a good book or watching a funny movie, most of the time I like to do one of these two activities to relax and unwind and enjoy myself after a tough day. In fact, I just finished a book, The Life of Pi, yesterday after coming home from the office. Let's talk about guests. How often do you have guests visit? Okay, how often do you have guests visit? Answer this question in a nice full sentence. You're speaking to your grandfather or your grandmother who have no idea how often you have guests visit. Okay? Furkan, Cam says, not frequently, but in my leisure time, I meet with my guests and we do different pastime activities such as playing PlayStation or having a barbecue in the backyard. All right, Furkan, be clear right away. Use the question. So I don't have guests visit frequently, but in my free time, people do come over. I meet with my guest, Furkan. It's kind of weird. You meet with your friends. Your guests are people who come to you. They come to your house. So it's kind of awkward to say that you meet with your guests. It's like you're going out to meet with your guests. It's kind of a strange situation. So you need to say guests come over to visit me. Often my friends, sometimes family. Your family can be guests. Your friend can be guests, okay? To play video games or have a barbecue in the backyard. PlayStation? Grandpa doesn't know what that is. What do you mean you're playing a PlayStation? That just sounds weird to grandfather. Okay, Furkan, keep those points in mind. All right. Zamir Ahmed says, my family has many friends, so every day guests come over to meet with us and enjoy life together. Zamir, you have to be clearer on your answer, okay? My family has many friends, so every day guests come over to meet with us and enjoy life. Just yesterday, Uncle Tom came for a couple of hours. We had a lot of fun. Okay. All right. Amar Wadi says, most guests visit us on occasions like birthday parties. My family members visited us yesterday for my birthday, and we really enjoyed it. Amar, a couple of slight corrections, but overall a very good answer with an example. Fantastic. Okay. All right, Jassi Rathul says, I welcome guests frequently and feel happy when they are over at my place. We enjoy snacks together during our free time and gossip about people who we know. Okay? I made some serious corrections, additions, subtractions there, so make sure you go back, Jassy, to this time, 28 minutes, and listen to how I changed what you wrote. Okay? All right, let me give you an answer. So, how often? Looking for adverbs of frequency. Always, sometimes, rarely, never. Okay? So, my family and I are very social. So, we have guests come over and visit us frequently. I would say at least 5 times a week. Just yesterday, my wife's best friend popped in for a visit and stayed for about 2 hours. All right. So take a look. students, how to compose those high band 8, band 9 answers. How often do you have guests visit? Present tense, general question. Okay. What does it require? Adverb of frequency. Explanation. My family and I are very social, so we have guests come over and visit us frequently. Great. How frequently? That's qualitative. We need some quantity, some numbers. I would say at least 5 times a week. Oh, okay. So that's what it means for you. 5 times a week. All right. Just yesterday, my wife's best friend popped in. Popped in. Ooh, did you just use a natural expression? Fantastic. Your mark's going up. For a visit and stayed for about 2 hours. Okay. So again, some more quantitative language. Don't forget your quantitative language, especially with these kinds of situations. So one more time, students. How often do you have guests visit? My family and I are very social, so we have guests come over and visit us frequently. I would say at least 5 times a week. Just yesterday, my wife's best friend popped in for a visit and stayed for about 2 hours. Okay, lots of nice expression, explanation, clear speech. Grandpa and Grandma now understand exactly what's going on. Okay? All right, next question. Who are your guests usually? So who are your guests usually? Who are they? Give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. So who are your guests usually? Satisfying Time says, well, most of the guests are family, as my father and uncles are so close. We always enjoy their company and share family secrets. Sharing family secrets is the best activity. Very good. Zainab, for the previous question, Zainab Naif, remember, says, my family and I frequently have visitors every day of the week, especially the weekends, as just moments ago, we said goodbye to Al Shahan family after they spent 3 hours at our place for lunch. Okay, Zainab, careful a little bit with the second half there. Going back to this question, Friendship Goal says, well, lots of guests used to come to my home during birthdays and festivals. Just a couple of hours ago, and my uncle was visiting. He visits our home at least once a week. Students, with the used to, I think some of you are trying to impress the examiner using this used to phrase. Okay. I see more and more students doing this. I don't know if there's some big school that's teaching this somewhere, but it's a little bit strange. So I see a lot of students using this used to and then something. Okay, I see many students using this incorrectly. Okay, you're going to lose band scores if you do that. So used to, students, just a little side note here. Used to is in the past, you did something, you did it regularly, but you don't do it anymore. Okay? This type of sentence structure we do not use for present tense, for general tense, because when we have present tense questions, it means you still do it. Okay? So this question here, the first one, how often do you have guests visit? And this second one, who are your guests usually? These are present tense. These are asking you about now, not just in the past. Okay? So if you say used to, the examiner's going to be like, why are you saying that? Okay? Used to is usually used in situations when we're talking about the past, but we no longer do it today. Okay, so be very careful with this. I don't know who's teaching it or where, but it's a bit awkward. Okay, all right. So used to is used in response to past behaviors that are no longer present. Okay? Question would be, if we're staying on the guest topic, is what were common snacks you offered to guests in the past? Okay, so but this would be more like a section or part 3 in the speaking. This is a little bit complex for a part 1 question, so this would be for a part 3. And here your answer could be, well, I used to offer my guests coffee and sugar when they came over for visits, but I no longer do this because most of them became hyperactive and just wouldn't stop speaking. So these days I serve cheese and water. Okay? So that would be the situation. What were common snacks you offered to guests in the past? It means you did it before, you don't do it anymore. So now I can answer, well, I used to offer my guests coffee and sugar, or I'm actually meant to say coffee and chocolate, when they came over for visits, but I no longer do this because most of them became hyperactive and just wouldn't stop speaking. So these days I serve cheese and water. Okay. All right. So that would be a good place. Okay. I realize I missed a lot of your answers. I'll go back to some of those students, but I felt that was a really important point to make about the used to grammar. In part 1, be very careful when you use used to. It's unlikely that you will need that grammar structure in part 1. If you use it incorrectly, you're not impressing anybody. Your score will go down. Okay? All right. So I hop back a little bit. Let's go back to this question. So who are your guests usually? Okay. Dana Shreza says, well, most of the time my uncle's family visits my home during festivals and on special occasions, as well as to celebrate birthdays and share in happiness. Danish, careful with your grammar and word choice. Okay. All right. Upalavana Shakya says, our relatives visit us most of the time to see my grandparents and check on their health, most frequently being my aunt, who sees us at least once a week. Sees us, not see us, sees us, but that's good. Okay, so who are your guests usually? Most of the time, my family and friends come by to visit. As I had mentioned, my wife's BFF was over just yesterday. Of course, this is because they care about us and we about them as well. Many friends and family live in our neighborhood. Okay? All right. Again, repeat after me. Who are your guests usually? Most of the time, my family and friends come by to visit. As I had mentioned, my wife's BFF was over just yesterday. Of course, this is because they care about us and we about them as well. Many friends and family live in our neighborhood. BFF is best friend forever, or best friend for life. It's a very colloquial term used these days in pop culture, BFF. Notice, students, here, why is my band score going up, up, and up? I'm using past perfect, and I'm using past perfect while making a strong cohesive connection to my previous comment. So, as I had mentioned, my wife's BFF, right? Because I just mention that. So it's as I had mentioned before. Just yesterday, my wife's best friend popped in for a visit. All right? So that works really nicely. Make those connections. When you have the chance, connect for cohesion. Your band score will go up. All right. Good job so far, everyone. So really, everybody does deserve the double thumbs up today. I see some beautiful interaction in the chat and some really nice answers, okay? So keep it up. Next question here is, where do you invite your visitors? So where do you invite your visitors? Kind of a little bit of a weird question, but IELTS has these weird questions. So where do you invite your visitors? It's kind of like, where do you invite your guests, okay? My uncle Mitra says, I welcome my guests in my living room as I have arranged it to be a comfortable situation or a conducive situation. My uncle, the second half of what you're saying is a little bit awkward, hard to understand. I think, what you're trying to say. So I welcome my guests in my living room as it is arranged to be a social atmosphere. A friendly, comfortable social atmosphere, Manko, or ambiance. Satisfying Time says, my invitations come randomly without previous planning, so it can be anytime, anywhere. For instance, I invited my friend Salim to watch a movie at the theater near my house. So perhaps you invited your guest to the movie, to the theater, Satisfying Times, or maybe your own home. All right. Zamir, I invite our visitors to a beautiful place and to our beautiful home. Okay. Careful with repetition, Zamir, and don't talk about we. Talk about you. I invite. Okay. Furkan says, generally invite my visitors to my home. However, if my home is not available, I may invite them to my family house. Okay. Or my parents' house. Sure. Yeah, that works. All right. Priya Singh says, I would like to say I prefer to invite my guests to my home because we can share our sorrows and joys in privacy and comfort. Priya, don't say I would like to say. It's awkward. Just say it. Okay, just say what you want to say. All right? I invite my guests both to my home and to restaurants. Usually, I like there to be refreshments and food available. So both of these locations fit the bill. At home, my living room is arranged comfortably for people to chit-chat and enjoy each other's company. All right. So there's my sample answer. Let me just move that all to the next page so you can see it in one eye shot. Here we go. Repeat after me. Where do you invite your visitors? I invite my guests both to my home and to restaurants. Usually, I like there to be refreshments and food available. So both of these locations fit the bill. Fit the bill means are able to provide refreshments and food. It's an expression or an idiom here. At home, my living room is arranged comfortably for people to chit chat and enjoy each other's company. All right. Next question. What do you offer guests when they visit? What do you offer guests when they visit? All right. Again, flow into this nicely. Loya Aluwa Bukola says, I invite my guests to my home where I can cook and entertain them with homemade food. Loya, that is a great answer for the previous question. Aarti Saini says, I serve snacks and delicious food as well. We prepare cake and go to visit beautiful, famous places. Aarti, you're going off topic at the end there, but the beginning is very good. Maybe give me an example of what kind of delicious food and snacks you prepare. So be more specific. Okay, so I serve snacks and delicious food as well as preparing cake. I made a delicious cheesecake for two of my friends who came over last Saturday. Band score just went up. Navneet Sharma says, I usually invite guests to our guest room if they're sleeping over so they can feel comfortable in that room with some quality furniture. All right, Navneet. Couple of mistakes there. That's for the last question. Chandni Katroja says, as I already mentioned, my family is social and near and dear friends often come to my home to spend some quality time together. Also, my relatives come on the weekends to visit us. Okay, there's a few corrections there, and that's for the previous question as well. All right, let's see. Aksa Rehman says, I usually offer tea and juice to my guests, but if they come at dinner time, then I will prepare a more hearty meal like a spaghetti or some udon noodles. Okay, so Aksa, it's not bad, but if they come at dinner time, I like to have dinner with them. What does that mean? You order pizza or you make them dinner? So again, you're talking to grandpa, grandma. You need to be very clear in your explanations, students. Pay attention to that, okay? Jayaram Reddy says, I usually offer tea with biscuits as a starter and later, depending on the time, lunch or dinner. Okay, Jairam, that's nice, all right? I like how you're getting specific. Tea with biscuits. Okay. All right. I always offer refreshments to my guests, such as tea, coffee, juice, or water, as well as some snacks like nuts and biscuits. Of course, if it is a lunch or dinner invitation, then I prepare a delicious home-cooked meal like goulash soup that I served my friend just last Saturday. Okay. All right. So here we go, students. Repeat after me. What do you offer guests when they visit? Why? I always offer refreshments to my guests, such as tea, coffee, juice, or water, as well as some snacks like nuts and biscuits. Of course, if it is a lunch or dinner invitation, then I prepare a delicious home-cooked meal, like goulash soup that I served my friend just last Saturday. Okay? Shiva Shankari says, depends on who we are talking about. If it's my friends, then it's snacks and cocktails. If it's relatives, then it would be a tea or a meal. Shiva Shankari, that's pretty good. Be careful, students, when you say it depends. Oftentimes that can get students into trouble or candidates into trouble. Okay? It's K-pop says, I usually offer them homemade snacks like samosas with spiced tea because presenting homemade food to guests reflects my effort and delightment to provide them comfort in my own home. Okay, it's K-pop. That's really nice. Just be careful with your word choice at the end of what you're stating there. Zainab says, honestly, I always order a meal from the nearest restaurant because the homemade meals require time and energy, which I don't have after a busy day of work and study. Zainab, very good. That's an honest answer as well. Okay, very good. All right, students, here's two more questions that I'll leave to you to answer on your own. Have you been a guest recently? If you could invite anyone to be your guest, who would it be and why? Some two very interesting questions. You can do these on your own. Pay attention to the grammar. Present perfect, conditional. Record your answer on your mobile phone. Send it to my email. I'll let you know if it's a band 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. All right. Again, my email is Adrian, Adrian at aehelp.com. If you missed those questions, the video is available on our channel so you can check it again. And don't forget, everyone, download our app. Looks like this, Academic IELTS Help, and join our premium package at aehelp.com for academic and gieltshelp.com for general. That's all the time for today. Tomorrow, we're going to kick off our members chat classes with a task 2 question that was requested, and we'll do listening sections 1 and 2 for the all chat class. Bye for now. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Sweet dreams for those of you who are getting ready for bed. Much love.